10. Grant Bote. One day in 2015, an Arkansas teenager named Grant Bote woke up to an excruciating pain in his ear. And that's when he reached in and pulled out a live centipede that measured 4 inches, or 10 centimeters. Grant's mother, Angela Bote, put the creature in a plastic bag and took her son to the emergency room, where he was treated for small abrasions to his eardrum and was released later on. Speaking with local station KATV, Angela said that she didn't know where the intrusive creature came from, but that Grant had recently swam outside. Hospital staff members in Saline County said they were used to people coming into the ER with all sorts of things stuck in their ears, but that it was the first time they treated someone for having a centipede in their ear. 9. Eddie Gray. After visiting a water park with his church group in Cumberland County, North Carolina in 2019, 59-year-old Eddie Gray came down with a headache. His symptoms rapidly worsened, but doctors kept misdiagnosing him and couldn't figure out what was wrong. Then, less than 2 weeks later, he became brain dead and passed away. It was later discovered that Gray had been infected by Naegleria fowleri, a microscopic brain-eating amoeba that enters a swimmer's body through their nose and immediately starts eating bacteria in a person's brain. This destroys brain tissue and causes a sudden and severe infection, causing the patient's brain to swell as their immune system tries to fight the infection off. N. fowleri cases in humans are almost always fatal, with only 4 out of 145 known patients in the US between 1962 and 2021 surviving their infection. Primary symptoms include headache, nausea, fever, and vomiting, followed by seizures, mental impairment, and a stiff neck. And the final stage of the infection results in a coma and eventual death. The parasite is usually found in warm bodies of fresh water, and there's no way to eliminate it. Most N. fowleri infections in the US occur in Florida and Texas, but cases have happened in other states, including Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, and elsewhere. The number of cases seems to be increasing in correlation with rising global temperatures, putting health officials on guard despite infections being extremely rare. 8. Hendrik Helmer. An Australian man named Hendrik Helmer woke up one morning in early 2014 with sharp, agonizing pain in his right ear. The pain worsened between brief periods of relief and eventually became unbearable. At its worst, each jabbing sensation was so excruciating that it caused him to fall onto the ground, thinking a spider had burrowed into his ear canal while he slept. The Darwin resident tried flushing his ear out with water and sucking the creature out with a vacuum, but these methods only seemed to further agitate whatever was in his ear. Helmer went to the hospital, where a doctor poured olive oil into his ear, causing the specimen to dig deeper until it finally drowned. Helmer later told ABC Radio Darwin that he could feel the creature's death twitching during its last moments alive. Then, using forceps, the doctor removed a 2-centimeter-long cockroach from Helmer's ear canal. Helmer experienced short-term side effects like difficulty balancing and jaw pain, but he was expected to fully recover. And surprisingly, he said that he wasn't traumatized by the incident. 7. An ear garden. When a little girl from Beijing named Ron began scratching her ear and crying in 2013, her mother could tell something was stuck in there, but she couldn't remove it. So she took Ron to the hospital, where doctors found a fully bloomed dandelion in the child's ear canal. Ron's parents said that a dandelion seed had fallen into the tot's ear about 4 months earlier, but they apparently hadn't worried too much about it at the time. Removing the offending plant was imperative, according to doctors, who said that even the slightest pressure on the little girl's ear canal could put her at risk of internal bleeding. One of the team members who treated Ron told the Beijing Evening News that the warmth and humidity of her ear canal likely facilitated the plant's growth. In an even more bizarre case of a plant growing in someone's body that took place in 2011, a Taiwanese dentist pulled a molar from a man's mouth with a guava plant sprouting from the root. The patient had come into the office complaining about an excruciating toothache, and the dentist quickly discovered that one of his molars was missing, while the one next to it was severely decayed. Poor hygiene had given the guava seed an opportunity to embed itself in the patient's mouth, and the dentist was so surprised by what he saw that he called other staff members into the room to take a look. Embarrassed by the situation, the man bolted out of the office, and it's likely safe to assume that he didn't return. 6. Hanna Foldinova. A 76-year-old Czech woman named Hanna Foldinova went to the hospital at her doctor's urging after discovering blood in her urine in 2015. Thinking it was a blood clot, emergency room doctors performed surgery, but they were shocked to discover a 4-inch or 10-centimeter worm living in the woman's kidney, and a 2.5-inch or 6-centimeter worm in her bladder. The team removed both specimens and identified the one from her kidney as Dioctopheme renal, or a giant kidney worm, which is relatively common in canines but rarely infects humans. Giant kidney worms are only removable through surgery. They can live in humans for up to 5 years and become life-threatening when left untreated. Unfortunately for Foldinova, the invasive inhabitants had weakened her body, and she ultimately succumbed to their damage. Dr. Ivo Odstrissel, the head urologist who treated Foldinova, told CEN that while doctors were unsure how the giant kidney worm entered Foldinova's body, human infections typically result from eating undercooked fish. The woman's family confirmed that she enjoyed eating local seafood, indicating that this was most likely the cause in her case as well. Foldinova's predicament is the only recorded instance of a giant kidney worm infestation of a human in the Czech Republic. 5. British man meets brain-eating tapeworm. Spirometra arenaceuropi is a tapeworm from Asia that rarely invades the human body. It typically infects carnivores, cats, and dogs. Only around 300 human cases have been reported since 1953. Several years ago, a 50-year-old Chinese man showed up at a British hospital with complaints of headaches, seizures, memory flashbacks, and an altered sense of smell and taste. After ruling out tuberculosis, HIV, Lyme disease, and syphilis, doctors performed an MRI and identified an abnormality, while a biopsy detected inflammation but no tumor. Subsequent MRI tests over the next 4 years showed the abnormality moving around in the man's brain. At a loss to explain what it was, doctors finally decided to operate. And during the procedure, they removed a 1 centimeter, 0.4-inch long tapeworm, unlike any other ever seen in the UK. Experts identified the creature as S. arenaceuropi through genetic testing. The species is usually found in China, Japan, Korea, and Thailand, but like many other parasites, global travel has enabled it to show up elsewhere via human and animal hosts. It doesn't always invade the brain and has been discovered under the skin, in the lungs, and even in the breasts. But because brain tissue is rich in fatty acids, which the tapeworm absorbs through its skin, the brain is an ideal place for the tapeworm to live. A closer look at the species' DNA revealed that its genome is about 10 times longer than the genomes of most other tapeworms, which may help to explain its ability to survive in so many animals, and its resistance to traditional anti-parasitic medication. 4. Maggots make themselves at home. Myiasis is the medical term for a maggot infestation in the human body. Oral myiasis pertains to an infestation in the external and/or middle ear. It can happen to anyone, but it's most common among mentally and physically disabled individuals, including the elderly, children, and people who struggle with personal hygiene. Doctors typically treat this condition by removing the larva from the infected site and cleaning it. Without treatment, oral myiasis can become life-threatening. In one case report that was detailed in the Northern Clinics of Istanbul Journal, a bedridden 87-year-old dementia patient's left ear itched constantly for a month, then started bleeding, and that's when doctors discovered that her left external ear canal was full of live fly larvae. They sprayed the maggots with a lidocaine solution to restrict their movements and removed 7 of them total, one by one, with the help of a microscope. In 2012, doctors removed 57 maggots from the ear of a 92-year-old nursing home resident from Illinois named Catherine McCann. The senior citizen's ear had been enlarged following surgery a few years earlier, and she was supposed to receive regular cleanings and treatment. Employees denied being negligent, but the incident caused McCann's family to question whether she was being properly cared for. While visiting Peru in 2013, a British woman named Rochelle Harris pulled a fly out of her ear and thought nothing of it as she continued on with her day. But after returning to England, she woke up one day with facial pain and liquid on her pillow. A hospital staff member discovered New World screwworm fly larvae in her ear. Harris could feel the maggots moving around in her ear and became worried that they would invade her brain. So, to ensure that they were all removed, she underwent surgery. 3. Eddie Zitner and Katie Stevens. After a trip to the Dominican Republic in 2018, Canadian couple Eddie Zitner and Katie Stevens returned home to Windsor, Ontario with extremely itchy feet. Zitner would later tell CNN that they spent nearly the entire flight scratching their toes. 4 days after arriving back in Canada, blisters developed and the couple's feet swelled. The pain became unbearable, forcing them to use crutches, and they couldn't stand the touch of shoes or even socks. After multiple hospital visits, doctors finally diagnosed the pair with a parasitic skin infection called cutaneous larva migrans, which is caused by hookworm larvae burrowing into the skin. They most likely caught the parasite while walking barefoot along the Punta Cana shore. Hookworm larvae dwell primarily in the intestines of dogs, cats, and wild animals. The parasite spreads to humans who come into contact with feces-contaminated sand and soil. It usually survives in humans for up to 6 weeks and goes away on its own. But as Zitner and Stevens learned, the experience can be highly unpleasant. Antiparasitic medications can help speed the healing process up, and while these treatments are available over the counter in the United States, they're only available in Canada on a case-by-case basis. The couple's first request for medication was denied, but they eventually got their hands on it through a doctor who was dual certified in Canada and the US. After being diagnosed, Stevens posted gruesome photos of her and Zitner's afflicted feet on Facebook, along with a caption pleading with beachgoers to remember to wear footwear at the beach. 2. Shrea Dari. In 2016, a girl from Gujarat, India, named Shrea Dari, went to the emergency room with pain in her ear. Doctors discovered ants in her ear canal and removed as many as they could find. Medical scans showed no abnormalities in Dari's ear, yet the problem persisted without explanation. Doctors were dumbfounded as ants continued crawling out of the girl's body. They tried every treatment they could think of, including trying to suffocate the ants, but nothing worked. In total, the team removed more than 1,000 ants from Dari's ear as she tried her hardest to live a normal life. Ear, nose, and throat surgeon Jawahar Talsania told the Times of India that the bizarre infestation was unlike anything he'd ever seen in his career. It would have been weird under any circumstances, but the fact that Dari's family lived a healthy, clean lifestyle made the situation even more perplexing. The absence of a queen ant or any eggs made it unlikely that the ants were breeding inside of Dari. And there was no damage to her eardrums like doctors would expect if someone's ear was full of ants. 6 months after the bizarre condition began, the ants finally stopped emerging from her ears. Doctors were just as confused by the infestation going away as they were about the ants appearing in the first place. But they were happy to see Dari's life return to normal. The girl's father credited divine intervention and thanked the family's Hindu deity for putting an end to the problem. Dari was just happy to go back to being a regular kid without any discomfort or pain, and she was glad to no longer have her friends be scared by the sight of ants crawling out of her ear. We have another great video lined up right after number 1. If you need more of a daily world list dosage, then be sure to stay tuned if you haven't seen that one yet. 1. Parasitic squid pregnancy. In a shocking case documented by the Journal of Parasitology, a 63-year-old woman ate parboiled Japanese flying squid in South Korea during a meal in 2012. and felt a prickling and foreign body sensation as she bit down. She described the sensation as feeling like many bugs were biting her. The woman immediately spat out the squid due to the severe pain. But by then, the small, sharp objects that were causing her pain had embedded themselves inside her mouth. She went to the hospital, where doctors removed 12 small, white, spindle-shaped bug-like organisms. Known as spermatophores, the offending creatures were essentially parasite-like bags of squid semen. Spermatophores aren't fully formed organisms with eyes, legs, or tentacles, but they are technically alive, and they continued squirming around even after they were extracted from the woman's mouth. Another documented case happened the previous year, in 2011, when a 21-year-old woman consumed a squid's reproductive organs and felt a similar stinging sensation. According to the Journal of Parasitology study, the unusual ailment is caused by eating raw or undercooked fish. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to eat squid or sushi, eat it at your own risk.
Number 8. Girlfriend stabs the love of her life. What started out as a booze and drug-fueled fight between lovers in 2020 turned deadly for a young British couple who found themselves wrestling outside their home in Coventry, England. 18-year-old Ellie Wayne had been drinking and smoking weed when she began arguing with her boyfriend, 18-year-old Kieran Brown. The fight soon escalated into a physical struggle, during which the young woman stabbed Brown in the chest. Kieran's father quickly rushed him to the hospital, but sadly, doctors were unable to save him. Wayne told police that she loved her boyfriend like no other and claimed she stabbed him only in self-defense. She said that she carried a knife for personal protection, but according to a witness, she used it in a threatening manner in the past, vowing to use it on anyone who came near her. Authorities eventually charged the young woman with murder. During the trial, prosecutors depicted the on-and-off relationship between Wayne and Brown as toxic. Detective Inspector Adam Jobson described the crime as an example of how carrying a knife can lead to fatal, rushed decisions. He believed that if Wayne had not been armed, Kieran would still be alive and breathing today. Wayne was convicted of murder and handed a life sentence with a minimum of 17 years. Number 7. Don Lemon's newsroom drama. 56-year-old CNN This Morning anchor Don Lemon has repeatedly thrown tantrums on set, lashing out at his co-hosts and making controversial statements that have been met with widespread disapproval. The New York Post first reported on this in late 2022 after Lemon screamed at his co-anchor Caitlin Collins off camera, accusing her of interrupting him on air. A source told the Post that Collins was shaken and ran out of the studio afterwards. Word of the incident traveled up the chain of command, eventually reaching the network's CEO, Chris Licht. An insider claimed Licht was disgusted by Lemon's outburst and told a producer to tell the anchor to take a day off. Since then, the interactions between Lemon, Collins, and a third co-host, Poppy Harlow, have seemed tense and awkward. In early February, Lemon lost his composure on air and went off script, telling producers to delay a commercial break as he criticized Collins' recent interview with Kentucky Representative James Comer. He ranted about conspiracy theories and even accused the FBI of suppressing incriminating news stories about President Biden and his son Hunter's business dealings. Lemon's next incident came days later when he said that 51-year-old former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is not in her prime. He went on to say that a woman is in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s. Poppy Harlow asked Lemon if he was referring to the prime ages for women to bear children, and he replied saying, "Don't shoot the messenger." Lemon apologized after what he said received backlash from the public, who accused him of being sexist. It seems like it's only a matter of time before he loses his cool again. Number 6. Terminal double trouble. Being extremely drunk at an airport hardly ever ends well, as one couple learned at Miami International Airport back in 2020. 23-year-old Brittany Mohammadi and her boyfriend, 26-year-old Manuel Ortega, tried getting on an American Airlines flight home to Los Angeles when an employee suddenly stopped them after realizing Brittany wasn't wearing shoes. The ticket agent explained that footwear was required, but the pair resisted. When they didn't get their way, Mohammadi allegedly tried attacking the worker in a fit of rage. Footage of the incident showed Mohammadi saying, "We're not leaving," before climbing on top of the counter. Ortega then pulled her down and tried guiding her away from the check-in stand, while she pointed at the worker and kept yelling. The person filming the video can be heard speculating that the young woman was high on something, but I don't know what. Police were called to the scene, and instead of cooperating, the couple continued to resist, with Ortega holding his arm tightly around Mohammadi and refusing to let go. The officers pried them apart, and instead of heading back to LA, they instead were taken to the Miami-Dade County Jail, where they were booked on charges of resisting arrest and disorderly conduct. Ortega faces an additional charge of battery on an officer. In an interview with 7 News Miami, Ortega said the TSA agents didn't even notice Brittany not wearing shoes. This was more than likely because people are required to take their shoes off while going through airport security. When the reporter asked Mohammadi how someone could be unaware that shoes are required at an airport, she said, "Okay, you know what? I don't go in the airport that often." The couple also admitted they had been drinking, with Brittany looking into the camera and repeatedly saying that they had tequila before the incident. Number 5. Winter Haven Walmart Outburst. Some law enforcement agencies are more active on social media than others. The Winter Haven Police Department in Central Florida has embraced technology, and its posts have landed it at the center of viral news stories. One of the latest headlines came in 2022 after the agency asked the public for help identifying a thief who was caught on camera having a meltdown at a local Walmart. According to a Facebook post, the suspect tried leaving the store with a cart full of toys and groceries. Surveillance footage showed the woman grabbing items and scanning them at the self-checkout before lingering in the store for another 15 or so minutes. Officers said that she then tried to wheel the cart outside without paying, but was stopped by an employee and escorted back. The customer was allegedly argumentative and insisted on the workers getting a manager named Kim. She said she had an employee discount and that her groceries were free. But no managers named Kim even worked at the store, according to police. At some point, the woman grabbed a Barbie doll out of the cart and said that she would pay for it while she walked away from employees. She was told to go pay at the customer service desk, but instead she threw the doll at a worker's face and the box busted the staff member's lip open. It's unclear whether the suspect was ever identified or arrested. Number 4. Midflight Mayhem. A TikTok that went viral in 2022 revealed a woman's dramatic reaction to being dumped by her boyfriend in the middle of a crowded flight. Posted by someone named @2secondsfun, the footage shows the woman collapsing to the floor and screaming at the top of her lungs while a flight attendant tries calming her down. She rocks back and forth on her knees and covers her face while continuing to let out high-pitched screams. She then rises to her feet and once again begins shrieking at full volume. Employees gathered around the woman, unsure of how to handle the situation. They appeared to be discussing the matter while the woman disappeared from view and yelled at someone off camera. Moments later, she reappeared as she wildly swung her fists at a man who remained impressively calm throughout the ordeal. The saga ended with footage of flight attendants pulling the woman off her ex-boyfriend. In the comments below one of the clips, the poster explained that the couple were engaged and that the woman planned to leave her fiancé after they reached their destination, but he found out about the plan and beat her to the punch by breaking up with her first, although he probably wouldn't have done it if he knew she was going to go completely off the rails and throw a colossal tantrum on an airplane. Number 3. Scorned musicians' Instagram meltdown. American singer Chris Brown gained a bad reputation for having a short temper in 2009 when he was charged with felony assault for beating up legendary pop singer Rihanna, who he was dating at the time. Since then, he's made headlines for abusing several other women. So it wasn't exactly a surprise in 2023 when he threw a fit on social media after losing the Grammy for Best R&B Item to Robert Glasper. Brown posted an Instagram story featuring a video of Glasper and a caption saying, "Y'all playing, who the F is this?" Followed by, "I'ma keep kicking y'all A. Respectfully." He also posted a photo stating, "Who the bleep is Robert Glasper?" The bitter musician then reposted a TikTok showcasing his ticket sales, chart ratings, and other accomplishments. Glasper took the insulting post with a grain of salt and a humorous approach, thankfully. A few days later, Brown posted a screenshot of a direct message he sent to Glasper, congratulating the musician for his achievements. Brown also apologized for his reaction and claimed that Glasper wasn't the intended target, even though his post made it clear that he was. Brown then said that he respected Glasper's work, that the two men should be classified in two different genres because their music is nothing alike, and that he wishes Glasper all the best. Many criticized Brown for what seemed like a half-hearted apology and a failure to own his actions, but most can probably agree that it was at least better than nothing. Number 2. Too good for a Tesla. Most people would be thrilled if someone bought them a Tesla for their birthday, regardless of how old they are. But one lady named Aisha was especially lucky to get one from her mother as a 16th birthday present in early 2023. Expecting her daughter to be thrilled by the expensive surprise, the mom, Neshi, recorded the moment she revealed the gift to Daisha. But things didn't go exactly as planned, and instead of gushing over the new car, which was parked in the driveway with a big red bow on the hood and a happy birthday balloon in the window, the teen took off her blindfold and reacted with nothing but silence. Several moments later, Daisha said that she didn't even like electric cars and that she was hoping to get a pink Mercedes. Neshi tried to talk some sense into the young woman, who quickly snapped back at her mother with a remark about how she didn't want to deal with the inconvenience of having to constantly charge the Tesla. At that point, Neshi and her son, Daisha's brother, told Daisha that she was acting very ungrateful, but it didn't stop her from complaining that her next gift, an envelope filled with $1,600, wasn't enough. After turning her nose up at the brand new vehicle and acting disappointed about getting a chunk of cold hard cash, Daisha said she had the worst birthday ever and stormed inside the house. Although Neshi didn't get the reaction she was initially expecting, she decided to post the footage on TikTok anyway. In the caption, she wrote that she was so ticked off and that she couldn't stand her ungrateful child. The video quickly received tens of millions of views, along with countless comments from social media users who were eager to offer their 2 cents on this birthday gone wrong. And it probably won't come as a surprise when you hear they took the mother's side. Number 1. Mom throws computer inside airport. Meltdowns inside airports and inside passenger planes happen so often these days that it takes a lot for one incident in particular to stand out among the rest. A 25-year-old woman from Alabama achieved that feat though in late 2022 after losing track of her own kids at the Miami National Airport. Camilla McMillie was checking in for an American Airlines flight to New York City when her 2 children wandered off to use the bathroom. When she realized the 8- and 6-year-old were no longer standing with her, she allegedly went into a violent tirade and screamed at the gate agent to find the kids. Footage of the horrifying rampage showed the angry mother ripping a boarding pass reader off the counter in frustration. The destruction continued, and at some point McMillie picked up a computer and threw it at an airline employee who was left with a bruise but luckily avoided any serious injuries. Needless to say, McMillie didn't make her flight that day. While her behavior seemed like the product of sheer rage at first glance, not everyone saw it that way. One witness who watched the chaos unfold told local news station WSVN that McMillie went into panic mode. In other words, she was worried about her kids more than anything else. She had mama bear rage, if you will. But being a concerned mother didn't get her off the hook for the $10,000 in damages she supposedly caused. Instead of boarding her flight, McMillie was taken into custody and charged with aggravated battery, criminal mischief, and disorderly conduct. News station Local 10 was waiting to greet her when she got out of jail a few days later, but she didn't have much to say to them. When a reporter asked McMillie if she actually threw the computer, she nodded yes. She shrugged when the reporter asked if the computer hit an employee, and when asked if she wanted to say anything to the worker, McMillie simply said, "I'm sorry." The exhausted mother confirmed that her kids were safe and sound with their grandmother in Birmingham and ended the interview as soon as possible.
Would you rather pull a disgusting, creepy, crawly bug out of your ear, or find a non-venomous but large and terrifying snake in your bed? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!